Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janabalaba Gated by the Dari. Gopi Janabalaba Gated by the Dari. Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janabalaba Gated by the Dari. Jaya Gopi Janabalaba Gated by the Dari. Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janabalaba Gated by the Dari. Jaya Gopi Janabalaba Giridhara Jari. Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Shabam Sabadarajastu Desata Sisimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayam Shabam Sabadarajastu Desata Sisimad Bhaktivedanta Sajita Kur Prabhupada Ki Gora Premanandi. On this appearance day of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, we are reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila Chapter 1, Text 84. It's also Text 2. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodita Gododaye Pushpavanto Chitta Sando Tamo Nudo Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Gododaye Pushpavanto Chitro Sando Tamo Nudo Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Gododaye Pushpavanto Chitto Shando Tamo Nudo
Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Gaudodaya Pushpavanto Chitro Sando Tamo Nudo
Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Nityananda Sahodita
Nityananda
Gaudodaya Pushpavanto
Gaudodaya Pushpavanto
Chitra Sanda Tamonuda
Vaishnavis.
Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito, Gaudale Pushpavanto, Siddhasanta Tamonudo.
Vande. I offer respectful obeisances. Sri Krishna Chaitanya. To Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Nityananda. And to Lord Nityananda. Saha Udito. Simultaneously arisen. Gauda Udaye. On the eastern horizon of Gauda. Pushpavanto, the sun and the moon together. Chitro, wonderful. Shamdo, bestowing benediction. Tamonudo, dissipating darkness. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, who are like the sun and the moon. They have arisen simultaneously on the horizon of Gauda to dissipate the darkness of ignorance and thus wonderfully bestow benedictions upon all. Om Begana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshumalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Svasi Gaur Bhaktivedanta. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. First, let us discuss the darkness of ignorance. Then we can begin to appreciate the presence of Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya simultaneously in our life. First of all, you must understand very clearly there is no progress these days. Don't be bewildered by technological proliferation. Don't be confused by all kinds of complex economic arrangements. Look in the core of the human being, and what do you find? Desolation. Real human progress is about the development of the inner self. What you find today is that the so-called human progress has destroyed the inner self. People do not even consider the welfare of their inner self to be a priority. You may find yourself boxed into that situation in which you feel forced to compromise. You feel forced to abandon the ultimate goal of life, or to step back, shall we say, from the ultimate goal of life because you're pressed by external concerns. You should understand that you're not being pragmatic. You are being victimized by the darkness of the age of Kali. We don't know what is the real standard for human life. The real standard of human life is nothing comes before your spiritual development. That is what happens in a normal civilization. But the abnormal times that we are living in, the very grotesque and distorted times that we are living in today, place the emphasis on the external. And then if there's any little time left, if there happens to be a little time left from your external pursuits, then you may wonder about the inner issues. But don't, whatever you do, don't become distracted from the external. That is where real value is. That is where fame and prestige and social respect come from. Your external performance. You can see in this darkness of ignorance today, who cares about your internal development? Often, your family members, your extended family members don't care. Society doesn't care. Everyone wants to look at your external acquisitions and achievements, and then they can judge you. Because of that all-pervading darkness of ignorance, we are so quick to just put aside the most important activity in life. Now, it's not that you may deny that most important activity, but notice how we are very quick to push it aside, only temporarily, because of what we think are pressing priorities. This is the darkness of ignorance. How can we neglect our true progress in the name of struggling to achieve false progress? So the more we appreciate the dense darkness of ignorance in this age, the more we can appreciate the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. How to shed some light in this ocean of ignorance. Srila Prabhupada once described real human progress in a very provocative way. Human progress is not measured in terms of your economic achievements, your GDP. It's not measured in terms of your technological enhancements. Human progress is measured in terms of how tired you are of changing bodies. What's that got to do with anything? How tired you are of changing bodies? How can that be the real standard of human progress? Our attitude is very casual towards that subject because we're covered by the darkness of ignorance. Changing bodies, oh, it may happen, it may not happen. So what? Right now, I have so many responsibilities. I have so many things I must do. I have my mind and senses, which must be satisfied at this present moment. And I have the mind and senses of others to satisfy. They want me to be successful. It is not simply me. They are wanting, right? Society is wanting. Relatives are wanting. I would be perfectly happy to chant Hare Krishna, but it's they are the ones who are holding everything up. Let us think. What is real human progress? You're progressing as an individual and as a society when you are tired of changing bodies. I've had enough of this. One body after another, happiness, distress, happiness, distress. The progressive human being, the truly advanced human being, feels fatigue about that. So check yourself. This is a way to evaluate your own personal progress. Do you still feel enthusiastic about material life? And do you feel optimistic about your bodily future? Do you see that your advancement involves simply the expansion of other material bodies, and they'll expand into more material bodies? Is that real progress? To appreciate Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, we need to understand that this is the worst age. Now, we say that, of course, but do we really understand? This is the worst possible age for a human being to live in. Yet, at the same time, the Shastra tells us that great saints and sages worship this most degraded age. Kalim Sabha Jayantyaya. Bhagavatam tells us. How can the greatest saints and sages worship the darkness of the age of Kali? They do that because in this age, the worst age, you can most easily get the best. You can most easily achieve the perfection of life. So it's an extraordinary or inconceivable paradox. In the worst time, you can most easily get the best. Now, how are we going to take advantage of that? This should be your life's mission. How to, so to speak, grab the bull by the horns, as they say. I'm in the worst time, but I have access. I have the easiest access to the best. How am I going to sort my lifestyle out? How am I going to sort my family out, my work affairs, so I can take advantage of this most inconceivable paradox? And indeed, it's paradox that you're seeing in this verse we're chanting. How can the sun and moon arise simultaneously? Normally, that shouldn't happen. Similarly, normally, you shouldn't have a chance to be Krishna conscious in this day and age. This day and age in which people are living on a less standard than animals. Normally, you shouldn't have a chance to understand the greatest secrets of the spiritual world. Yet, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, they are making all that available in the most confused times in which people can't even understand they're not the body. Yet, in this most confused time of ignorance, you get a chance to hear about pure love of Krishna, which is ordinarily almost impossible to attain. Let's look at the Vedas. When you consider the Vedic literature as a whole, most of the directives are about artha, how to economically prosper in a pious way so that you don't injure yourself and your future too badly. So most Vedic directives are about that. Economic affairs, how to make your living in such a way that good things will come to you. So that's why even in India today, you'll see that so many persons think that there's a one-to-one connection between spiritual development and economic activity. And if there's not, they become very bewildered. What is this? No connection between puja and prosperity? So you have to know where that comes from. Because originally, Indian civilization is based on the Vedas. And in the Vedas, most of the directives are about artha, how to perform good karma, punya, how to do business, so to speak, how to earn in such a way that you don't jeopardize your future with heaps of papa, bad karma, sinful activity. How to perform yajna to the demigods so that you'll get some temporary prosperity. In case you have any ideas about that, you should know that in this age of Kali, this intense age of darkness, those yajnas are not possible to perform. They require too many resources and too much sacrificial expertise that is not available in the age of Kali. In any case, most of the Vedas is about, in terms of directives, they're about artha, economic development. A little less is about kama, how to gratify your senses in a way that doesn't annihilate yourself. That's what happens today. Their sense gratificatory processes destroy themselves and destroy society. You see that happening all over the world. East, west, north, south, India, outside India. People are gleefully destroying themselves in their pursuit of sense gratification. But in the Vedas, there are directives how to gratify your senses in such a way that you may have a better future in the next life. So that's number 2 position for directives in the Vedas, kama, sense gratification. Number 3 is dharma. How to be a progressively dharmic person who does all the right things and avoids the bad things. Those dharma directives don't mean that you are understanding what is Bhagavan what is the supreme absolute truth? No, they just mean you know how to live a religious life as ordinarily conceived. You know how to do good things and avoid bad things, and in that way, you may go to the heavenly planets in your next birth. Or your next birth will be a prosperous one on earth. So that's number 3 position. Behind Artha, Kama, and there's Dharma. Number 3 in terms of how many Vedic directives. This is explained by Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur. Number 4 is moksha, liberation. Very little in the Vedas about moksha. As you can see, people, certainly today, they're not interested in moksha. And even during Vedic times, if you had the lifespan enough and the intelligence enough to read all the Vedas, you'd find less about moksha. It's there, but quantitatively, it's not as much as the Artha, the Kama, and the Dharma. And what is the least amount of directives that you'll find in the Vedas? Bhakti, pure devotional service. It's hidden. Why? Why does Krishna hide himself like that? Does he just want to make it difficult on you? No, it's just that bhakti is confidential. It's a personal affair between the individual spirit soul and Krishna. Just like you don't spread your personal affairs everywhere. You're very careful about who you take into your association and reveal your mind to. You don't tell about your intimate family affairs to anyone. Similarly, Krishna as Purushottam, the Supreme Person, is very careful about giving access to his personal loving affairs. Although at the same time, Krishna wants all living entities to revive their pure love with him. Still, normally Krishna is very careful. There's an expression in English, never throw pearls before swine. Normally Krishna's like that. He's hidden in the Vedas, Vedeshu Durabam, Adurabam. Lord Brahma explains in Brahma Samhita. He is a person, any respectable person is careful about revealing personal affairs, especially when in Krishna's personal affairs, to those whom he trusts, he's prepared to become conquered by them, subordinate to them. In his topmost abode, Krishna is offering equality with him. He's offering he'll subordinate himself to you. Pritya Vashyata, Bhagavatam says in 10th canto. He'll become the servant of his devotees. Just like Kunti Devi. She's wondering in her prayers in the first canto. This is bewildering. How is it that fear itself is afraid of Krishna, yet Krishna's afraid of Mother Yashoda, her stick and her rope? How is that? And he's crying, and the tears are flowing from his lotus eyes and washing the mascara around his eyes down his face. This sight is bewildering me. Because Kunti Devi was conscious that her nephew is the Supreme Personality Godhead, whereas Yashoda Mai was not. So Kunti Devi is just visualizing this scene of utmost beauty. It's one of the 6 characteristics of Bhagavan, Shadaishvarya Purna. All wealth, all strength, all knowledge, all fame, all renunciation, all beauty. So this scene of Krishna, little Krishna, Damodar Krishna, shaking his body, sobbing. His pearl necklaces are shaking. The mascara, the black mascara is running down his face. He's breathing heavily. His head is bowed before his mother. Mother, I'm an offender. I won't do it again. Just put your stick down. Kunti Devi is saying, the beauty of this scene is bewildering me. the most inconceivably powerful person, cause of all causes, is trembling in fear before Mother Yashoda, begging her that she should not punish him. Mother Yashoda had the rope in her hand because she's going to tie him up. She was afraid that he would run off into the forest and endanger himself. She had already put down her stick. Krishna was very concerned that she puts the stick down. The Acharyas point out that Krishna was bargaining with her. Put the stick down, please. Please put the stick down. And Mother Yashoda is saying, but why are you so naughty? If you're so concerned about my stick, then you promise never to be naughty again. I promise, I promise, I promise. So she didn't want her son to be too paranoid. She knew that was not good child development practice. So she put the stick down. But at the same time, she's thinking, you never know what he's going to do next. He's so restless, I'm going to bind him. So these are Krishna's personal affairs. Then what about Krishna's personal affairs with the topmost devotees, the most intimate devotees? What does he do with them? He creates separation. Even before he leaves Braj and goes to Mathura, he creates separation. How? By hiding in caves where they can't find him. And that way causing such separation. Even just by going to the forest for the day, the whole village is thrown into an ocean of vipralamba bhava, separation. And then, what to speak of his leaving Vrindavan for Mathura. Sanatana Goswami points out that actually he's giving the greatest benediction. By his leaving, he's giving his presence even more intensely. But to the ordinary, untrained senses, it looks like there's so much suffering caused in Vrindavan by Krishna, especially when he leaves, especially because the most intimate devotees in Vrindavan, they are revealing their pain, their agony, and accusing Krishna. But actually, they have Krishna more intensely than ever. So therefore, Narada Muni, in discussions with Uddhava in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, he says that by Krishna's leaving, he has done the greatest thing. He has given the highest munificence. In other words, Krishna proves his greatest charity. He proves his most munificent nature by leaving. So Narada Muni points that out. So think about that. We'll explain why we're discussing this later. Sometimes it is thought that Krishna enchants the residents of Vrindavan. Then you hear Modan Mohan Mohini, Krishna's dearmost consort. She enchants even Krishna, who enchants everyone. But Sanatana Goswami points out that actually, it's not so much that Krishna enchants Vrindavan, the devotees, but the real truth is that the devotees enchant Krishna. Not simply Srimati Radharani, but all the devotees. And what proof does Narada Muni give for this? The proof he gives is that after Krishna killed the Keshi demon, Narada Muni had to go to Vrindavan and remind Krishna, you've got other things to do. You're so absorbed in your Braj Leela. You're so enchanted by these devotees, but there's another part of your Leela that you have to start. So Narada Muni, Sanatana Goswami explains, had to resort to praise and other strategies pointing out how the Yadus are suffering and they need Krishna. And then Narada Muni would predict the future. In 2 days, my Lord, I will see you kill Chanura and Mushtika, the wrestlers. I will see you'll kill Kamsa. In other words, get going, get going. Narada Muni had to remind Krishna of his mission. Yada yada hidharmasya. Prachanaya sadhanam vanashaya jaduskatam. Narada Muni had to tell him, remember you came upon the appeal of the devas, the demigods, to deal with the miscreants and reestablish the pious. Remember, don't forget your mission statement. So Narada Muni had to do that because Krishna was so entranced by his devotees. And then Akrura came to fetch Krishna and Balaram, and in some ways he practically had to take them by force, emotional force, not physical force. That's because Krishna was so attached to his devotees. How is it that such things can be told? Such things can even be understood in the darkest age. This is because of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda. They appear together. They dissipate the darkness and they spread illumination. What's that illumination that they spread? They instill in the heart loving flavors in relationship to Krishna. Narottam Das Thakur has explained the process. Gauranga bolite habe, pulakasharya. When will that time come when I chant the name Gauranga, that my body will shiver with ecstasy and tears will flood from my eyes? When does that come? So Narottam Das Thakur points out that by pleasing Lord Chaitanya, by taking Lord Chaitanya's mission seriously. And what is that mission? We discussed yesterday. Yare deko tare koho Krishna upadesh. Ama agya guru hoya taro edesh. His mission is not that you have to become a sannyasi or brahmachari. His mission is not that you have to become a grihasta. His mission is that wherever you go, whomever you meet, Krishna upadesh, teach them the science of Krishna. Somehow, some way. He didn't say you have to do it this way, that way. He didn't say you have to be in this ashram, that ashram. You have to be a householder, or you don't have to be a householder. In fact, he was giving this instruction to Kurma Brahmana, who was a householder. And Kurma Brahmana, as we discussed yesterday, wanted to leave home with Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu said, don't speak like this again. Kurma Brahmana was lamenting, I'm drowning in the waves of material existence. Oh, I want to go with you immediately. And Lord Chaitanya said, don't speak like that again. You just stay at home. But stay at home and carry out this order. Wherever you go, whomever you meet, teach the science of Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya promised him, if you do that, you'll meet with me again. Actually, he said, more specifically, if you do that, I'll always be with you. So this is the light, the intense illumination in this age of Kali. By taking up Lord Chaitanya's mission, just like we were speaking yesterday. I've been to many homes here in Melbourne. I have not seen a full set of Prabhupada's books in every home. Have you? Have you seen a full set of Prabhupada's books in every home? We spoke yesterday about the excuse. Oh, it's all on my phone. There are other things in the living room. Why not a big bookcase full of Prabhupada's books, along with the television? Along with the big widescreen, you know, which is only, of course, for watching spiritual DVDs. I know. The widescreen is good for seeing videos from Mayapur, Vrindavan, and also a few cricket matches too. So, why not a full set of Prabhupada's books? We are behind in this. This should be automatic. It's just like you have japa beads, you have the full set of books. In that way, the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead takes over your household. When guests come to your house, they see all these books. Your children grow up with all these books there. The books make a physical presence. They take up space. They cause people to pay attention to them. And we spoke yesterday about how, I'm just repeating in case someone was not there, the latest research has shown that you retain information better by reading a book than from an e-reader device. Did you know that? How many were not here yesterday when I explained this? Raise your hands. All right, I'll say it again. The latest research shows that when you're simply reading from an e-device or electronic device, tablet, smartphone, whatever, what do you most remember? You remember where the information is stored, but you don't remember the information. It's on my phone in such and such a folder. That's what you remember. But you don't actually remember the information. But you feel good. Why? Because I know where it is on my tablet. I have a special app, and I know which folder, where the information is. Then you feel, I'm smaranam, remembering. Smaranam now means remembering which folder of the app it's in. But research has shown that with a book, you somehow or other retain the information better because the book is more physical. That's why when you chant japa, you twirl the beads to engage your sense of touch. So when you're reading the book and turning the pages, it's a more physical experience, and so therefore somehow or other, the brain retains the information more. And of course, you know that when you're reading from a tablet or smartphone, it's so easy to go to another app, check your email, right? But with a book, you can't do that. This is just the Krishna Katha, the Gaur Katha. So, certainly, every congregational member can have a full set of Prabhupada's books. By your having the full set, you'll start to read them. And people in your family and your visitors to your home will ask questions about them. Because these books take up space. No more space than a widescreen TV, but they still they take up space. So how is it that we have not taken advantage of this great mercy? Srila Prabhupada stated many times he wants every family, devotee or not, to have a full set of his books there. Just like you buy a house or you rent a flat, simultaneously, just like you read Nityananda, Chaitanya, they've arisen simultaneously on the horizon of Goda to dissipate the darkness of ignorance and thus wonderfully bestow benediction upon all. Similarly, simultaneously, when you buy a new home, when you rent a flat, you get the full set. No one here will live in a bare flat or bare house with no furniture, no beds, no mattresses, nothing. You have to put at least the minimum possessions there. Similarly, put the full set there. It's part of the basics, the essentials. But some or other, we think it's optional. And in that way, we deprive ourselves of the greatest mercy. It's so easily available. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains that how is it Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda spread the light of enlightenment? They do it in two ways. By the book Srimad Bhagavatam and the person Bhagavat. Through those two methods, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda instill the flavors of bhakti rasa in the heart. And all this is going on in the age of the most densest ignorance. Now, dispelling the darkness of ignorance doesn't simply mean getting people to follow the four regulative principles. I was explaining last night that following the four regulative principles is not a sign of human perfection. It is simply a sign that you are a human being. So the full sense of understanding of the darkness of ignorance that's dispelled by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, is that any kind of religion or spiritual practice performed with any kind of material motivation is swept out, just as the Bhagavatam promises to do in the beginning. Dharma projita kaitavotra. Sweep away anything with the slightest motivation that's not pure love of Krishna. This is the non-sectarian program of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda. They are advocating pure love. In order for there to be pure love, there can't even be the slightest motivation that you're serving Krishna because he's God. Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda will take you beyond that. They're taking you beyond Vaikuntha. In Vaikuntha, everyone knows Lakshmi Narayan, Bhagavan, Supreme Personality of Godhead, unlimited opulence. Everyone is very full of awe and reverence. Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda want to take you past that. So the topmost abode, to Goloka Vrindavan, where no one thinks Krishna is God. They just think he's the most wonderful friend, most wonderful lover, most wonderful son. They don't love Krishna, as we explained last night. In Goloka Vrindavan, they don't love Krishna because he's God. It's not an issue there, Krishna's being God or not. We explained last night how sometimes there's speculation going on in Vrindavan. Is he a demigod? Is he empowered by Narayan? Maybe Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai performed lots of pious activities and they were able to have a son who's empowered by Narayan, maybe. They sometimes speculate like that and then they just drop it. Mother Yashoda thinks, never mind all that. It's time to feed my boy. It's time to bathe him. I have to bathe the particles of sand from his body. So this is what is the full extent of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda's mercy. This is pure love. Not simply, they're not coming simply to give belief in God. They're not like some evangelists or missionaries. Do you believe in God? Do you understand God is great? No, Nityananda, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are going far beyond that. That's why Narottam Das Thakur prays, Gauranga Balita. When will my body tremble and tears fill my eyes when I chant the name Gauranga? That happens by embracing Lord Chaitanya's mission. To not only give people human life by following the four regulative principles, but taking them far beyond that to pure love of Krishna, in which you live simply for Krishna's happiness and you have no other conception of happiness other than Krishna's happiness. So then what happens when you have attracted the attention of Lord Chaitanya? Narottam Das Thakur explains, Arkabe Nitai Chand Karuna Hoibe Samsara Vachana Mora Kabe Tucha Habe. Once Lord Nityananda sees that you are trying to fulfill Lord Chaitanya's commands, Nityananda comes along and says, all right, I'm taking away your material desires. Is that a great setback? That's Nityananda's job, to remove your material desires, so much so that they are insignificant. Kabe tuchab. Insignificant means like if a fly lands on your arm, your whole life doesn't fall apart, does it? A fly landed on me. Oh no, I'm finished. But Nityananda promises, if you have taken up his brother's mission, he'll then come and make your material desires as insignificant as if a fly landed on you. Nothing even worth talking about. What does the 5-year-old Bhakti Yogi, Prahlad Maharaj, say? Yanmai tunadi grihamedi sukham itucham. He's a 5-year-old boy. What's he talking like that? He's a 5-year-old boy and saying, what are these grihamedis, these materialistic householders doing? They're so dedicated to a particular activity that provides so-called pleasure that is so insignificant, it's not even worth talking about. 5-year-old boy is saying that? What kind of 5-year-old boy is this? Sukham tucham. Similarly, Nityananda, he promises, you serve my brother's desires, and I will make your material desires so insignificant, they'll be like a fly landed on your arm. Right now, everyone is trembling from material desires. Oh, my body, my mind, my wants, my needs, my expectations, my social conditioning, my family conditioning. I have to have this, I have to have that. But Nityananda's mercy makes that all not even worth talking about. The effects become so trivial. What seems to be so monstrous now? Oh, I'm being devoured by material desires. That which seems so monstrous becomes so tiny. Once, by pleasing Lord Chaitanya's mission, you attract the attention of Lord Nityananda, who reduces your material desires. Then, Narottam Das Thakur says, you can start to perceive what is Vrindavan. Kabe Hama, Ujjaba say, Sri Vrindavan. Then you get a vision of the Holy Dham. As you well know, you can't buy your way into the Holy Dham. You may buy a flat there, you may buy a house there, but you're still not there. But when Lord Nityananda pulls back the curtain of material desire, then you can actually see Vrindavan. And then once you're in Vrindavan, by Nityananda Prabhu's grace, because the curtain of material desire is pulled back, then you can start to understand Radha Krishna Leela by the mercy of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. So in this way, try to understand the teamwork between Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. What happened when Lord Chaitanya wanted to tour South India? He had made his way to Jagannath Puri. Remember, he first wanted to go to Vrindavan. After he took sannyas, he was headed to Vrindavan. And Nityananda tricked him. And he wound up at the house of Advaita-acharya. And all the residents, the devotees of Navadvip, including Mother Sachi, they came to see him there. Mm-hmm. Then he decided to go to Puri. And what happened on the way to Puri? Lord Chaitanya wanted to visit a temple, and his danda, he was carrying a danda because he wanted to demonstrate very rigidly the principles of sannyas. So between Jagadananda and Nityananda, they were dealing with the danda. Jagadananda was the official danda carrier while Mahaprabhu was visiting temples or dancing in ecstasy, and some other Nityananda got the danda while Lord Chaitanya was visiting a temple. So Nityananda looked at Lord Chaitanya's danda and asked a question. How is it that the one I'm carrying in my heart is carrying you? This doesn't make sense. I'm carrying Mahaprabhu in my heart, yet you, the danda, are being carried by Mahaprabhu. We've got a problem here. So he was talking to the danda like that. So after meditating on the dilemma, this paradox, my worshipful Lord, who I carry, he's carrying you. That shouldn't be. So what did Nityananda Prabhu do? He broke the danda into 3 pieces, threw it into the river. By his breaking the danda, which was an ekadanda, by breaking into 3 pieces, also Nityananda was showing that Mahaprabhu is actually Tridandi sannyasi. He took the ekadanda just to pacify the Mayavadis, who think that within the one danda is merged everything, because ultimately everything is one. So Nityananda Prabhu said in so many words, oh, the Mayavadis think it's all one. Okay, I break it into 3. That was part of the purport of why he did that. So he threw the danda in the river. And then, of course, Lord Chaitanya later is asking, where's my danda? So, of course, Nityananda Prabhu came up with an excuse. You see, what happened is that while you were dancing in ecstasy, you were about to fall. And I came to catch you from falling. But somehow or other then, we both fell upon the danda and it broke. So that was the excuse he gave to Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya externally was angry. And then he began to review the past history. I entrusted my danda to you. I was determined to show rigidly the principles of sannyas. Now you have broken my danda. Take your pick, he told his associates. Either I go ahead of you to Puri, or I go behind you. Take your pick, because I'm going alone. So of course, they all said, please, please go ahead of us. Please go ahead. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains that this breaking of the danda by Nityananda is very significant and has a very deep meaning. Nityananda wants the world to know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not some sadhaka. He's not some practitioner of sadhana bhakti. He's the supreme Paramahansa. So why should he carry a danda? Ordinary persons will think that Mahaprabhu is just a regular sadhu, regular saint. Those, even today in India, who know something about Sri Krishna Chaitanya, often they think that. He was a very powerful social reformer. He was a great sadhu, a great saint. That's all they know. So this was what Nityananda had in mind. They'll think like that he is a very special sannyasi, very special sadhaka, ordinary person who's going through the various stages of sannyas. But no, he's automatically the topmost Paramahansa. He's automatically free from material nature because material nature is his energy. He's the Ishwar of all energies. He's automatically a Paramahansa. Therefore, I break his danda, to make that point clear. So that was Nityananda's mentality, his reason. But what was Lord Chaitanya's reason for wanting to carry the danda? He was always in some kind of transcendental tension with his associates. He wanted to rigidly live a strict sannyasi life, and his associates would be pained by this. So there was always this kind of tug of war going on. Even sometimes Lord Chaitanya would externally show anger. Why are you stopping me from performing my austerities? Inwardly, he was pleased. Because ultimately, the whole purpose or principle of Gaur Leela as well as Krishna Leela is simply pure love. So sometimes Lord Chaitanya would allow his associates to bend him from performing severe austerities. Sometimes not. Sometimes he would show anger. Why are you interfering with my vratas and my austerities, my tapasyas? But inwardly, he's pleased because he knows they're acting on the platform of raga, pure love. But just to set an example for the people in general, Lord Chaitanya wanted to be very stern externally. All right, so the party from Navadvip arrives in Puri. After some time there, and so many leelas, Lord Chaitanya decides he wants to visit South India. How many here are from South India? Raise your hands. So many. So Lord Chaitanya wanted to go to South India to liberate all the living entities there. But how is he going to get away from the loving embrace of his associates in Puri? They had come from Navadvip to Puri with him, and in Puri he had picked up more intimate associates. How is he going to get away? Even in love, there's diplomacy. Just like those who are married and have a well-established relationship, husband and wife, you still know sometimes there has to be diplomacy. Each one has their way of diplomacy. The husband has his kind of diplomacy. The wife has her kind of diplomacy. So even in loving affairs, there is some diplomacy. Of course, if the motive is proper, then no one minds. So Lord Chaitanya presented his situation like this. I can never give you all up. You all are dearer than my life. I can give up my life before I can give you all up. That was the overture. Lord Chaitanya, he's showing how to be the supreme Indian. First, before you, if you give the bad news, then you, I can never give you all up. I'd rather give up my life than to give all of you up. But I'd like to go to South India. So he made up an excuse to go to South India. He said, my brother Vishrup has disappeared. He's taken sannyas, and I've heard that he's wandering here and there. I have to go find my elder brother Vishrup. Now, Mahaprabhu is omniscient. He already knew that Vishrup had left this world. But he needed some excuse because his associates loved him so much. So it's not that he's being dishonest or tricky. He's just dealing with the intense love. So he had to give some reason. He asked, please allow me to go to South India to search for Vishrup. Who was the first one to say something? Because Mahaprabhu had said that I want to go alone. He knew that if he would choose someone, the others would be heartbroken. So he said, I want to go alone. Please let me go alone to tour South India, search for my brother Vishnu. First one to speak up was Nityananda. How can you go alone? You should take 1 or 2 persons with you. And I know 2 persons that you should take. He's already increasing. It starts off by saying, you should take one or two persons. And then a few sentences later, I know 2 persons you can take with you. And then what does he do next? In fact, I happen to know all the paths in South India better than anyone. You learn so much about personal dealings and etiquette just by reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. The dialogues between them and how they go about getting their transcendental way by how they speak and how they package everything. It's the height of culture. Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur says that actually Chaitanya Charitamrita is Srimad Bhagavatam. And moreover, he says, if you haven't read Chaitanya Charitamrita properly, he said, you don't understand Bhagavatam. Think about that. So we want to see those full sets, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, etc., in everyone's home. So that you can understand Bhagavatam by reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. Because why is it that we are so fixed on Bhagavatam? What's the reason? Because it's the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who stressed Bhagavatam. That's why. So if you don't understand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how can you understand Bhagavatam? That's why Srila Prabhupada, in his introduction to the first canto, has a short biography of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because we are receiving Bhagavatam upon the authority of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So therefore, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, if you don't understand Chaitanya Charitamrita, you actually don't understand Bhagavatam. Chaitanya Charitamrita is actually Bhagavatam. There's so many Bhagavatam verses there. So Nityananda Prabhu explained to Lord Chaitanya, you're going to be chanting japa, you're going to be dancing in ecstasy. Who is going to carry extra set of clothes and a water pot? Who's going to carry all that? You can't do it. With one hand, you're chanting japa. With the other hand, you're counting your rounds. And when you're dancing in ecstasy, you're lost in ecstasy. What happens to your extra set of clothes as you're traveling? What happens to your water pot? So in that way, Nityananda Prabhu convinced Lord Chaitanya to take someone with him. He didn't any longer present himself that he should go, because Lord Chaitanya went down a whole list of apparent infractions caused by his associates. He began to recite these apparent infractions as if they were false. But actually, Kaviraj Goswami points out that Lord Chaitanya was tasting their good qualities while externally pretending to be criticizing them. He went down the whole list. Nityananda, I wanted to go to Vrindavan. You misled me to go to the house of Advaita-acharya. I valued my danda more than anything on the way to Puri. You broke my danda. He went down the whole list. Damodar Pandit has done this. Mukunda has done that. Jagadananda is like this. He wants me to enjoy sense gratification. He wants me to enjoy material comfort. If I don't do it, he pouts for days. He went down the whole list. Damodar Pandit criticizes me. Even though he's a brahmachari, he's telling me how to behave. So this is Lord Chaitanya actually glorifying his devotees because they're on the platform of pure love. But still, for the sake of the general public, Lord Chaitanya wants them to know, I'm going to demonstrate the rigid principles of sannyas. But inwardly, he understands they're acting on the platform of raga. This is how deep Gaur Lila is. There's always so many different layers of things going on simultaneously. So in that way, Lord Chaitanya got his associates to back down and let him go. By apparently criticizing them while actually tasting their glories. Moving ahead, there's another time after Lord Chaitanya came back from South India, and every year the devotees of Navadvip would come and visit Puri, especially around Rath Yatra time. They practically couldn't live without doing that. The buildup of transcendental emotions was so intense every year as the time to go to Puri approached. But one time in Puri, with all his associates there, Lord Chaitanya told Nityananda, "Oh, Shripad, holy man, I have a special request for you. Don't come to Puri and see me. I want you to go to East Bengal. I want you to deliver all the persons there. You can do a job even I can't do." So this seems like Lord Chaitanya is banishing Nityananda. Don't come. But no, he's giving him the mission of doing something that Mahaprabhu says he himself can't do. In this way, Mahaprabhu is demonstrating the potency of parampara. Through the potency of parampara, the devotee can apparently surpass the predecessors. And that's what Lord Chaitanya is indicating. You can do something that even I can't do. The parampara is not some kind of material mechanism. It is not some kind of material restriction. There's no material law that says the current members of the parampara cannot externally do more than the previous links. Lord Chaitanya is indicating, I want more done. I want to demonstrate the power of parampara. By taking the power from the parampara, someone can do more than the previous links. So it's seen he was sending Nityananda away, but actually he's giving Nityananda the greatest mercy. Don't come and see me anymore. Just go to East Bengal. Only you can deliver those persons there. Lord Chaitanya, you see, he specialized in delivering very high-class persons. Learned scholars, high government officials. In addition, yes, when he's touring South India, whoever saw him would become saturated with Krishna prema. But in terms of his own personal outreach and preaching, he specialized in very distinguished brahmanas, very distinguished sannyasis, scholars. But he gave the job to Nityananda Prabhu to just flood everywhere with Krishna prema without discrimination. He gave that task to Nityananda Prabhu. He said, don't come and see me anymore. Of course, what happened in the future? Nityananda came anyway. While he was executing the order of Mahaprabhu, he did return to Puri to see him. So let us consider how we can get the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Nityananda Prabhu. They are together. You cannot appreciate one without the other. Whatever problems you have with material desires, today is special mercy day. You can beg Lord Nityananda that I promise to assist your brother. I promise to carry out his mission. I'll do my part, but please relieve me from the scorching heat of material desires. So let us take advantage of Nityananda's appearance day and do that. All right, are there any questions? Yes?
While we're praying to Nityananda to take away these material desires, at the same time there is this attachment for those material desires. How can we pray for something?
How can you pray to remove something that you're attached to?
Yeah.
Easy. I'm attached to it, but I know I shouldn't. Take it away. Just like Queen Kunti prays to Krishna, please take away my attachment to the Yadus. Of course, they're all devotees. There's nothing wrong with being attached to devotees. But she's referring specifically to family affairs, material family attachment. Please, Krishna, take it away. She's recognizing, I'm a mother, I have relatives, I don't want to be attached in a material way. Of course, they're all devotees, but I don't want any material attachment. Please take it away, Krishna. So similarly, especially on Nityananda's appearance day, we can beg Lord Nityananda that I'm trying to serve your brother. I'm trying to carry out his mission. Now you please cleanse my heart of material desires. I'm helpless on my own. Yes.
When you spoke about Krishna's appearance.
Louder, please, so I can hear.
When you spoke about Krishna Lila in Vrindavan, we see how Krishna displayed certain pastimes that were seen perhaps by certain people but not by others. Like, for example, Govardhan Lila and other things, like other pastimes like this. For example, Kamsa and others, they didn't know Krishna lifted the hill. So is it that Krishna performed certain pastimes for his devotees, but the atheists are not seeing that? They're kind of closed pastimes for devotees.
This is what Sanatana Goswami explains. He said, practically there is no difference between Bhoma Vrindavan and Goloka Vrindavan. The slight difference is that Krishna is only visible in Bhoma Vrindavan once every day of Brahma, once every 8,640,000,000 years. Anyone can see Krishna, but even though they're seeing Krishna, however, they don't know what they're looking at. Just like if you are looking through a microscope at a university or biological laboratory, if you have not studied biology, although you're seeing the specimen through the microscope, you don't know what you're looking at. Mm-hmm. Or we have so many IT persons here. If you show an ordinary person who's not trained in IT some computer language, they have no idea what this is. But if you are educated in IT, you understand. So even though when Krishna comes once every day of Brahma, anyone can see him, very few know what they're looking at. Most think he's the topmost powerful person on the planet now. Others may think he's a demigod. Others may think even he's a super soul, but very few understand he's Swami Bhagavan. So even though once every day of Brahma, anyone can see Krishna, most don't know what they're looking at. But in Goloka Vrindavan, everyone can see Krishna all the time. Yes.
I can understand some of the Lord's pastimes, but I can't understand his childhood pastimes, even Lord Nityananda's pastimes, when he's a rascal. You know, I mean, to completely destroy the household, you know, just out of anger. I mean, what's that pastime? What's going on there?
Well, because Nityananda's avadutta is totally unpredictable. That's why Advaita-Acharya would complain whenever Nityananda was there taking prasad with him. I'll never invite someone like you to my house again. You're spoiling all my religious principles. No one knows who you are. What caste are you? You're ruining my Brahmana respectability. You're an unknown entity. Of course, indirectly, Advaita-Acharya is praising Nityananda. And what is Nityananda's response? You're a Mayavadi. I mean, just consider your name, Advaita. I'm sitting next to a monist. I don't know what my future will be. Of course, Advaita-Acharya means he's non-different from Hare, but not monism, but qualitatively non-different. But Nityananda chose to focus on another angle of the name Advaita. So yes, Lord Chaitanya's associates would sometimes complain about Nityananda. Who is it? Shivananda Sen's son was kicked by Nityananda. And he really got an attitude because of that, the son. Even when he left the party and went ahead on his own to Puri, Lord Chaitanya had to console him. Of course, the rest of the party thought, oh my God, you've been touched by the lotus foot of Nityananda. So he's unpredictable like that. And the greatest manifestation of his unpredictability is that he'll give Krishna to anyone, even us. That's why we're so happy he's an avadutta. Because of Nityananda's unpredictableness, because of his lack of discrimination, lack of distinguishing, we're chanting Hare Krishna. That's why Mahaprabhu told him, you can do something even I can't do. You can just deliver everyone. I've delivered Rupa and Sanatan, Prakashananda Saraswati, Paka Mayavadi Sannyasi, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the greatest scholar in India. But you, you can just deliver anyone without discrimination. Please go to it. Don't come and see me in Puri. So, of course, Nityananda carried out that order, but he also did come back to Puri. You can't control him. So it's wonderful. You can't control him because we're benefiting from the uncontrollable nature of Nityananda Prabhu. Otherwise, what qualification do we have? So please take advantage of today. The scorching heat of material desires impedes our attaining our real nature. Pure love of Krishna is the function of the soul. But our material desires are impeding the development or the remanifestation of our pure love. So let us take advantage. Just like I've actually heard directly from some persons who were imprisoned by Muslims in Afghanistan. Not by Muslims, but this is before all the wars broke out. These were persons who were tourists. Back in the 70s or 80s, they were tourists in Afghanistan, and they made some offense, and they didn't understand the Islamic law, and so they made some offense. They probably tried to chat up some lady or something, and so they were put in prison. And how did they get out of prison? Because the government told them, you're never going to get out. You have made an offense. You have offended the Quran, the Islamic law. And but then So this person told me, one day the jailkeeper came and he said, by the way, today is a special Islamic mercy day. All you have to do is go to court, beg for the mercy of Allah, and because it's a special mercy day, we let you go. Of course, you know what the tourist did. He went to court. Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. Get me out of here. So they let him go. So they have those days like that. So this is our day. The unpredictable Avaduta. Non-discriminating. Doesn't distinguish between who's worthy and who's not worthy. Let us take shelter of his lotus feet today. Nitai Padakamala Koti Chandra Shushitala. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.